Carousel of Life, Day 16, Beach. A Miraculous Ladybug Fanfiction written based on the Adrinette April 2019 daily prompts. If you missed any of the previous chapters, you can find links in the description box below, or click on the card in the upper right corner for the playlist. Hope you enjoy the ride on the Carousel of Life. Marinette slid into the window seat of the train, grateful that there was enough space to fit her duffel bag with extra legroom. Adrien was standing in the aisle, looking lost in thought. He was wearing an orange hoodie with the hood up, trying to blend in and not be recognized. Marinette chuckled internally. He could have picked a more subtle color than orange, and the Gabriel logo emblazoned just under the drawstring didn't help. She tried a glance at him, expecting him to ignore it or divert his eyes as he'd been doing for the past few days every time she looked his way. She still hadn't figured out why he was avoiding her, and whether he knew she was Ladybug or not. Not that she'd had much of a chance to test him when they weren't on speaking terms. Surprisingly, though, he didn't look away. Instead, he met her eyes with a warm, if shy, smile that caught her off guard and stole her breath away. He gestured at the seat beside Marinette and opened his mouth, about to speak, only to be interrupted by Alya barreling into him. He yelped as her elbow collided with his side. "Whoops, sorry sunshine, miscalculated a bit there," Alya said, sounding not entirely genuine. She plopped herself down in the seat beside Marinette. "Hey girl, you excited?" "Yeah," Marinette replied absently, eyes following Adrien longingly as he disappeared into the row in front of them. He was about to take the seat beside her, wasn't he? The thought, paired with the smile he'd given her, lit a flame of hope in Marinette that things would be okay between them.
"Dude, I can't believe this is happening. You're actually here and we didn't even have to kidnap you,"
Nino said, falling into the seat beside Adrien and immediately reclining the chair. He pinched Adrien's arm.
"You're not a hologram, are you?"
Adrien snorted. "Of course, I'm not allowed to get burned or tanned. We're being shadowed by my bodyguard. I still have to take my Chinese lesson tomorrow over Skype, and I have to make a recording with the hotel piano to prove to my father that I practiced." Marinette couldn't see him over the seat back, but the eye roll was evident in his tone.
"Still though, I'd take these conditions over house arrest any day. You guys are the best for planning this."
"Oh, we barely planned anything. We just got lucky," Alya said. Her father, sitting with Adrien's bodyguard in the row behind the girls, was attending a zoology convention in Deauville that weekend and had agreed to let the teens tag along to spend some time at the beach. Marinette felt wary leaving Paris for any reason, but with the new high-speed train, Deauville was only an hour away, and she had enough saved up to buy a return ticket at any time in case an Akuma was sighted in Paris. Though Tiki had warned Marinette that it was risky to go, she couldn't miss Adrien's birthday celebration. 1 hour away should be fine. Cat Noir could keep it at bay in the meantime, and the Lucky Charm would take care of damage control. Yes, she had some built-up anxiety considering the possibilities, but she prayed that Hawkmoth would just give them a break this weekend. "Are you gonna be okay? With him?" Alya whispered, nodding her head in Adrien's direction. "Yeah, it'll be fine," Marinette whispered back. "Maybe he's not mad at me anymore? I mean, he smiled at me." She chewed her lip nervously. "I've got your back, girl," Alya insisted protectively. She'd been increasingly more vocal to Marinette about her irritation with Adrien as the days crept by and he still hadn't explained himself. "No one's gonna hurt my bestie and get away with it, not even Adrien Agreste." "Shh, keep it down," Marinette hissed, glancing Adrien's way. Alya was already speaking in a low voice, but he was only a few feet away. "This trip is for him anyway. Let's just leave the drama at home and make it a good memory for him." "I'll keep him away from you if you want," Alya offered. "I'll be a human shield." No, Marinette said, shaking her head. "It's okay, really. I'm not upset, just confused. I'm hoping we'll have a chance to talk this weekend and clear things up." "All right, girl. Just let me know if there's any way I can help." "Thanks, Alya. You're the best." "20 minutes into the ride, Alya was already asleep, plugged into headphones with some conspiracy theory video left playing on her phone. Marinette had tried closing her eyes, but she was too excited about the vacation and ended up just staring out the window instead.
Marinette.
At first, the whisper went unnoticed over the rumble of the train. But by the second,
Marinette!
The girl noticed her name was being called from the arm-width space between the seat and the window ahead. Adrien's green eyes were visible through the crack, peering at her intently. "Huh?" she asked, leaning closer to hear, in case he was trying to get her attention for a reason. "Yes?"
"Nino's asleep,"
he said. "Alya too." Adrien chuckled, and Marinette saw a flash of blonde as he looked away, running a hand through his now exposed hair before his eyes turned back to her.
"Hey, so I know it's kind of awkward to talk like this."
He waved his hand between him and Marinette, pointing out the gap they were speaking through. Marinette waited for him to continue, but he didn't right away. He looked like he was still deciding what he wanted to say. "What is it?" she prompted.
There's something I want to tell you, so let's talk later." "Yeah, later."
"Okay," Marinette agreed right away, but her mind was racing to catch up. Adrien wanted to tell her something? Was he finally going to tell her what she'd done to deserve his cold shoulder? Or something else? Like that he'd figured out her alter ego? The thought filled her stomach with butterflies. Through the crack, Adrien gave her a small hesitant smile, as if he wasn't sure she'd accept it, and he held out his hand in the gesture of a truce. Tentatively, Marinette raised her hand, reaching between the seat and the window to meet his. To her surprise, his fingers closed around hers, pulling her hand close enough to brush her knuckles with a light kiss.
"I'm sorry,"
he said, a tremor running through his voice, before disappearing behind the seat. Marinette pulled her hand back quickly, heart pounding. Why was he sorry? And why did he kiss her hand? It was something Cat Noir would do. Was he imitating Cat Noir since he knew she was Ladybug? Was he making some kind of statement that he'd make a better partner than Cat Noir? A better suitor? But if he liked her, why did he ignore her? Did he like Ladybug but not Marinette? What was happening? Marinette was tempted to touch his shoulder to get his attention and continue the conversation right then and there, before her thoughts could drive her up a tree, but he'd already said he wanted to talk later. It probably wouldn't be comfortable for him to crane his neck to talk to her, and maybe he'd get motion sickness looking backward. She was capable of being patient. Sinking into her seat and propping her knees on the back of Adrien's seat, Marinette put in her earbuds, letting the phone rest on her sternum as she closed her eyes. She could feel her heart knocking against it, and took several deep breaths to calm herself. Now, how was she going to find out if he knew her identity without giving anything away? She closed her eyes, entering brainstorming mode. Nothing like some cognitive activity to get her mind off matters of the heart. Marinette knocked on the door to the boys' hotel room. They'd stopped to drop off their belongings and use the bathrooms before heading out to the beach. Adrien answered. He was still wearing the orange hoodie, a pair of ash-gray jeans, and his signature orange Converses. Marinette held out a wrapped gift and bit the bullet. "This is for you, Adrien. I've been trying to give it to you since Monday. Happy belated birthday."
"Thanks,"
Adrien said, accepting it with a slight blush.
"I don't remember seeing this one in your room."
Adrien added the second line so smoothly that Marinette had to do a mental double-take to realize what he meant. The pile of birthday gifts for her crush. Heat sprang to her cheeks. "Oh, that's right. This one wasn't in the chest."
"So, I guess the one you made all those gifts for wasn't me, huh? Too bad."
No, I mean, that's not. I just got inspired and made this recently, and..." She stopped when Adrien put his face into his palm to stifle his laughter. "What?"
"You're..."
Adrien couldn't speak through the laughter.
"You're so easy to tease." "It's funny."
"Hey," Marinette said, a little indignant but mostly relieved that Adrien was back to joking around. Maybe things were already okay between them. She still had many unanswered questions, though.
"Can I open it?"
"Go ahead." It was a lightweight windbreaker, tailored to Adrien's measurements, which were conveniently accessible online, in aqua and white, light enough to easily move around in while offering protection from the sun and wind. The sleeves were longer than standard and had thumb holes for added coverage. You don't have to wear it right now, but I hope you like it anyway. The material deflects UV rays, and since your dad is so picky about your skin, I figured it would help, Marinette explained humbly.
Thanks, Marinette. It's awesome,
Adrien said excitedly, pulling the hoodie off immediately. Marinette averted her eyes as the white shirt underneath rode up a little, exposing a flash of his toned abs. He shrugged on the jacket, lifting each arm and twisting his torso to check the fit.
It's perfect. Wow, Marinette, you are amazing. It's an honor to wear anything you make. And honestly, I'd rather not look like a walking Gabriel ad.
Marinette blushed at the compliments, mumbling a flustered, "Glad you like it, and it looks really good on you." Adrien ran his fingers along the side seam, where a vine-like trail of silver embroidery thread against the aqua fabric caught the light, Marinette's signature.
I love how you do this, he noted. So elegant.
Marinette's chest tingled, touched by the fact that he'd paid enough attention to the details to notice so quickly. She laughed nervously, not sure if it was suitable to say thanks and unable to think of anything witty to say.
Alright dudes, ready for some volleyball?
Nino interrupted obnoxiously as he came out of the bathroom, startling Marinette. Adrien's eyes crinkled as he gave Nino a lazy fist bump.
Let's hit the sand.
The sight of Adrien happy was enough to dissolve the anxiety sitting in Marinette's chest since the train ride. "Let me grab my stuff and Alya," she said, smiling fondly at the boys. "Meet you in the lobby." After a lunch of crepes and a windy game of volleyball on the beach, the four teenagers found themselves living out a romantic cliché, a horseback ride along the beach. Despite the sun being high, Deauville was still chilly in April, especially on the shore, so they were restricted to activities around the beach instead of actually playing in the water. That was fine with all of them, especially Adrien, as splashing around bareheaded and bare-skinned would have been too much sun exposure for Gabriel to allow anyway. As it was, Adrien donned a Panama hat that he held down with one hand whenever a strong wind blew, holding the horse's reins with the other. The riding instructor, who happened to be a friend of Otis Césaire's, trotted some ways behind them as a chaperone, mostly just to keep an eye on them in case of emergency, and to make sure they didn't run off with the horses. Adrien's bodyguard rode beside him, looking comically top-heavy on his steed, as if he should have been carrying the horse instead. Before the short riding lesson that prefaced their outing today, Marinette had only been on horses a few times when she was younger, and only around a track with someone else holding the reins from the ground. So she exercised a fair amount of caution, keeping the horse at a gentle pace and avoiding any startling motions. The boys were lagging behind as Nino was having trouble trying to keep his horse focused on moving forward, instead of trying to nibble at random patches of grass. As the instructor stepped in to help, Adrien caught up with the girls, sidling up effortlessly beside Marinette.
How's it going, neighbor?
Marinette laughed. Back to punning, are we?
What can I say? I'm a pun master. I just can't rein them in.
Get off your high horse, mister, Marinette said playfully. There's more than one pun master in the house, or should I say, in the horse?
Hey, you can't use the same word twice.
It would behoove you not to challenge me. You couldn't handle the full extent of my punning prowess.
She's right, dude. Watch out. Marinette's got a scary competitive streak,
Nino said, trotting up to Adrien's other side. He'd finally gotten the hang of controlling the horse and had caught up from the few meters behind that he'd been trailing.
So, I can ride now. How fast do you think I can go?
Nino, no, Alya said in a warning tone.
Giddy up,
Nino cried, digging his heels into the horse's haunches. It started forward with a little huff, and Nino let out a whoop, giving it another slight kick. Nino, stop! Alya yelled as the horse broke into a gallop.
Hey, young man!
The guide cried sharply, but it was too late. Getting carried away with the excitement, Nino had shot off along the beach ahead. Thankfully, the cold weather left the beach mostly deserted, so there wasn't anyone to endanger. Nino's thrilled screams reached them over the wind as the chaperone took off after him. Glad we went with giving him the calmest horse, Alya said through grit teeth. I hope it doesn't throw him.
Idiot.
Adrien chuckled affectionately. The three of them watched as the chaperone caught up with Nino and managed to calm the animal. Their pace was steady enough to talk comfortably. The sun was warm ahead, taking the edge off the chilly wind. Now's as good a time as any, Marinette thought, launching into her plan to check what Adrien knew. So, Alya, I read your analysis of the last Akuma fight on the Lady blog, Marinette said offhandedly, knowing Alya would take the bait. She loved to overanalyze Akuma battles. Sure, that was a brilliant use of the lucky charm, but what was she thinking using it so early? Cat Noir wasn't even at the scene yet. Marinette was going out on a limb. She didn't want to let Adrien know about her superhero identity if he didn't already know, but maybe criticizing Ladybug would help expose whether he did or not, by his reaction. As she eyed him out of her peripheral vision, though, his face seemed carefully blank, fixed on Nino ahead. To be honest, I got a little scared when she used it so early, Alya admitted. I almost mentioned it in the write-up, but Ladybug fans get vicious about anything even close to criticism, so I ended up deleting it. It ended up working out, didn't it? Adrien pointed out. Well, yeah, Marinette shrugged. In fact, she'd realized what the akumatized object was right away, and staying out of the Akuma's path had been a piece of cake, so she didn't need Cat's diversion. Besides, she'd already seen him like a speck on the horizon when she'd called the lucky charm, so she knew he'd make it well before her transformation ran out. The longer she stalled, the more of the city the Akuma ripped up and assimilated into its growing body made of debris, so she hadn't wanted to delay. It was better to know what the lucky charm was so she could formulate the plan and simply spring into action once Cat Noir arrived. Nonetheless, her objective today was to play the devil's advocate. But what if Cat Noir hadn't made it before her transformation ran out? That's a thing, right? Wasn't it a little reckless on her part? Irritation flashed on Adrien's face at the word reckless, and Marinette practically felt him bristle at her comment. Ladybug isn't reckless, he said. She thinks everything through before acting. If she called the lucky charm early, she must have had a good reason to do so. Marinette raised an eyebrow. She'd expected Adrien to defend Ladybug, so that part wasn't a surprise and left her with little doubt that her hunch about his crush was right. But the way he talked about her was so certain, almost as if he knew the way she thought. He must have really studied the videos and Ladyblog articles. In a way, it was flattering, but the fact that his affections were directed at her superhero self was still uncomfortable. From his response, he didn't seem to know that Marinette was Ladybug. He wouldn't be annoyed at her comment if he knew, right? Maybe more confused? She couldn't be sure. One last push and she'd drop this act. It just seemed like she got lucky. Not sure how much of that was due to planning. That's how her power works, Adrien snapped. It's called lucky charm, isn't it? She follows her intuition on when and how to use it, and once she knows what she's dealing with, she makes a plan. Sometimes her actions seem random or don't make sense, but she always has a plan, and it always works. Ladybug is brilliant. Marinette's mouth fell open unwittingly. It was almost scary how well he hit it right on the head. Not that Marinette would go so far as to call herself brilliant, and her plans didn't always work out, but that was pretty much the summary of her battle strategy. Wing it, go with her gut, then force the puzzle pieces to work. It was still a celebrity crush, but she had to give Adrien some credit. At least he paid attention. And it seemed like he didn't know. This was enough for Marinette, and she didn't want to actually upset Adrien, especially over a non-disagreement like this. Alya had figuratively stepped back, watching the exchange with an expression that treaded the line between amused and annoyed. I didn't mean to criticize Ladybug, Marinette said placatingly, looking at Adrien and hoping he didn't wonder why she felt it necessary to reassure him about it. I just got nervous when I saw it on TV, that's all. You're probably totally right. I'm sure Ladybug knew what she was doing. Adrien gave her an ambiguous look. At least it wasn't an angry one, though. Marinette smiled sweetly, hoping that would make it clear they were not arguing. Adrien let out a puff of breath. Didn't mean to snap at you, he said apologetically. No harm done, Marinette said, light and cheery enough to dissipate any negative emotions. Adrien's face cracked into a relieved smile. He didn't know. That checked one question off her list, but tacked on several more. The afternoon passed lazily, perusing boardwalk shops, a delicious seafood dinner, and a brief swim at the hotel pool since everyone had brought their bathing suits but the sea was too cold to swim in. Despite trying not to look at him too much, Marinette couldn't help but notice a bruise peeking out from the top of Adrien's trunks on his left hip. When she asked about it, he just brushed her off, saying he'd taken a hard fall at fencing practice.
"Don't tell my bodyguard," he entreated.
The bodyguard was back in his own room, allowing the teens free rein on hotel grounds after speaking with the staff about the necessity for tight security. "Well, well, my friends," Alya said once everyone had started getting wrinkly, hauling herself out of the pool and wringing out her braid before grabbing a towel. "Evening has fallen and a magnificent night at the theater awaits. Nino and I are going on ahead to set up. Meet us in the boys' room in an hour, showered and ready for awesomeness."
"Can't wait,"
Adrien chuckled. His eyes were twinkling. All traces of his brief irritation during the ladybug conversation had long since disappeared, replaced by utter childlike happiness as they moved from one activity to the next.
"This has got to be the best day ever,"
he murmured, probably to himself, but Marinette was close enough to hear it. Her chest filled with affection. She wanted to smother him with kisses. She took the steps out of the pool and wrapped herself in a towel. "I guess we should start getting ready too."
"I'm sure they're using the showers first,"
Adrien said, following her out of the pool.
"Let's give them 15 minutes. Want to check out the roof? Nino and I found the staircase earlier. There were lights strung up, and I'm curious if they turn them on at night."
"Sure," Marinette agreed, pulling on sweatpants and a cardigan, not even caring that they were getting soaked through. Adrien toweled off his hair and slipped on a shirt. He still had Marinette's jacket with him, but didn't put it on, probably to avoid getting it wet. "I'm sure it's cold out," she said. "The material dries quickly, so you can wear the jacket. It's okay." He gave her a smile and put it on. Pleasure filled her to see him wearing one of her designs. That was enough for her. His friendship, his happiness, and him wearing her gifts. She didn't need to confess. Not yet, anyway.
"Shall I escort you to the roof, then, fair lady?"
Adrien asked in a mock chivalrous tone, reminding Marinette a little of Cat Noir, though it was much cuter coming from Adrien. Maybe he'd gotten in the mood from the way Alya was speaking earlier. "You watch too many movies," Marinette said, jabbing him in the side instead of taking the arm that he was holding out.
"Hey,"
he laughed, squirming away from her finger.
"Life is more fun with some dramatic flair."
She grabbed his arm anyway, before he could retract it. "Lead the way, brave knight." As it turned out, they did light the lamps at night. The roof was set up like a courtyard with benches and low tables, strings of lights crisscrossing the sky between the vine-covered wooden trellis that outlined the perimeter. "This is beautiful," Marinette breathed, taking in the scene. The wind was colder now, without the sun to buffer it, and she moved closer to Adrien, using him as a shield and a source of warmth.
"I love roofs,"
Adrien murmured, leading them to the edge where they could lean out on the wooden rail to view the waves crashing on the shore. The empty beach glowed with moonlight, and calm blanketed the night.
"It's so easy to forget about life when you're on a roof. All the shoots and publicity and dieting and lessons and... Oh, that reminds me, I still have to make that piano recording for Father."
"We're on a roof," Marinette reminded him with a teasing smile. "Save those thoughts for later."
"You're absolutely right."
They fell silent for a moment, enjoying the scene. "My balcony is my favorite place in the world," Marinette said dreamily, though she meant it was her favorite constant place that she could keep coming back to. This particular place, this particular time, alone with Adrien Agreste, celebrating his birthday on a hotel roof in Deauville, would surely be preserved in her memory as her favorite place, until a better memory involving Adrien came along to take its spot. But once this moment was left behind in the stream of time, she wouldn't be able to come back.
"Your balcony has a great view,"
Adrien agreed. A few moments passed before Marinette realized what was wrong with that statement. She turned to Adrien in confusion. "You've been on my balcony?" Despite the low lighting, she could see the blush creep over his entire face.
I just meant it looks like it has a great view. I've seen it from outside.
Oh, right. That made sense. Adrien buried his face in his hands. Marinette couldn't understand why he seemed so embarrassed. She touched his shoulder. "What's wrong?" she asked. When he looked up, his hair was slightly mussed and his eyes a little red from how he'd had them pressed into his palms.
Hey, Marinette, I'm really sorry.
"What for?" Marinette froze. Were they having that talk now? She'd almost forgotten about it, since the report had seemingly returned to normal over the course of the day's activities. Adrien heaved a sigh.
I know I've been acting weird lately. It's kind of complicated to explain. So, can I ask you a favor?
Sure.
Can we just pretend nothing happened and start over?
Nothing as in he didn't ignore her for 3 days straight? As in he didn't kiss her? What did he mean, nothing? Marinette searched his eyes for answers but came up blank. Sure, she answered, still not certain what she was agreeing to.
Hi, I'm Adrien,
he said, holding out a hand, a hint of a smile on his lips. Wait, introductions? He wanted to redo their entire friendship? What was so bad about it? Not that Marinette would be opposed to pretending she hadn't been tongue-tied around him for a whole year. Marinette took his hand, uncertain. I'm Marinette, she said in a small voice. Obviously he was playing, but she didn't understand exactly what he was trying to erase, and that was throwing her off. Adrien lifted her hand and once again pressed a kiss to her knuckles the way Cat Noir often did. It was unnerving, and Marinette pulled her hand away reflexively to escape the discomfort.
Sorry,
Adrien mumbled, looking away.
I keep making mistakes. Sorry.
The tone of his voice was so, honestly, self-deprecating that Marinette took both of his hands, trying to suffuse him with warmth and reassure him that he'd done nothing wrong. No, it's okay, Adrien, Marinette said, squeezing his hands for emphasis. She decided being direct was the best course of action. She was tired of being confused. I don't mind if there's something that happened between us that you want me to forget, but I don't mind everything that's happened either. There's nothing I can think of that was so bad I'd want to forget about it. I don't know what I did to upset you in the first place, but I don't even mind that you decided to avoid me. She felt him flinch as she mentioned that, but barreled on with her monologue. For once, she didn't feel the need to carefully choose her words for Adrien. Feeling lightheaded, she let the words flow unfiltered. Relationships aren't perfect. I know that. Friends fight, things happen. Even if we didn't start over or whatever, I'm not going to demand an explanation or let it affect how I feel about you. I forgive you, and I hope you've forgiven me. I wish you'd tell me what I did wrong so I don't accidentally do it again, but if you don't want to, that's fine. Having you as my friend is enough. Seeing you happy is enough. I just want everything to be okay between us. Please. A single tear had leaked down Adrien's cheek while she was talking, but he didn't take his hand out of hers to wipe it.
You didn't do anything wrong,
he said in a husky voice.
I'm the one who messed up. I don't deserve your friendship.
Don't be ridiculous, Marinette said, wiping the tear from his cheek and parting his arms to hug him around the waist. Her heart overflowed for him. His arms closed around her tentatively, and she felt him slowly duck to rest his cheek on her head. You've got it, whether you like it or not. Marinette's phone buzzed in her pocket between them, and she stepped back, extracting it and turning on speakerphone as she answered the call from Alya. Hey girl, you with Adrien? Yep. The movie theater experience is all set up, projector and everything. Popcorn's in the microwave. But where's the audience? Come on, get yourselves showered and changed. Marinette exchanged glances with Adrien. It had been quite a bit more than 15 minutes. We're on our way. She hung up and the two stared at each other for a silent moment before Marinette reached up to tousle his hair. His cheeks glowed faintly pink as a smile teased his lips. He looked so adorable. She really wanted to kiss him so much that tears almost welled up in her eyes. Everything okay now?
Yeah,
Adrien answered breathlessly. He caught her hand as she pulled it away from his hair and tugged her toward the door.
Let's hurry.
He didn't let go until they were back in the hall where the rooms were located. Marinette took her shower in a daze, wondering what it meant that he'd held her hand, wondering what exactly was too complicated to explain, wondering whether he wanted her to forget the kiss. She knew she wouldn't have enough courage to ask, so she'd just have to rely on her usual strategy. Wing it, go with her gut, and hope everything worked out in the end. As long as Adrien didn't hate her, things were good as far as she was concerned. Thank you for listening to Chapter 16 of Carousel of Life. Hope you liked it. Let me know what you thought in the comments. The next part is coming soon, so stay tuned and don't forget to subscribe. Until next time.